Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, back again with another video. And today I'm super excited to do a flip through of my reading journal for the first 6 months. So I started this journal back in January of this year. Haven't had the chance to update y'all on how the spreads are going in the past few months, so I'm excited to show you how everything's looking. As you might already be able to tell, this is a pretty chunky journal right now. Let me give you a view on this. This is my notebook so far. I am using the square Morning Sun notebook from Archer and Olive, and it is pretty full. So this is 6 months worth of reading journal spreads, and it's already having a little bit of trouble staying closed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens by the end of 2021. And without further ado, let's get into this flip through. So the inner cover looks the same as it did when I did the initial setup. I'll link that video in the card and in the description box down below if you want to watch the setup and see how I created the yearly spreads. Of course, there's my cover page and quote page. And then we get into my index, which is a little more used than the last time you saw it. I've just been writing in each spread and the page number as I go, and there's lots of space left for the rest of the spreads. Moving on to my 2021 reading tracker, and I'm doing pretty well here. I'm more than halfway to my goal of 125 books this year, and I've just been loosely filling in each box with my Tombow dual brush pen in 990 as I go, and I really like how this spread is turning out. Moving on to my next spread, which is my 21 books in 2021 spread. And this was really just a 21 anticipated reads spread. So 21 books that I was really excited to read this year. And I've been doing pretty well. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the 21 books so far. And I own these 3. So I have a couple more that I'm going to get to soon. Moving on to my next spread, which is my 2021 book bracket. As you can see, it's empty. I actually decided I wanted to leave this till the end of the year to fill out. So the plan for this spread is to put my favorite read from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December here, and then do a little bracket to figure out my favorite of those two, my favorite of those two, etc., to find my favorite of the year. But I kind of wanted to do this at the end of the year when I had full perspective on all of the reads instead of trying to pick my favorite month by month. And I think I might make a whole video of me filling out this whole book bracket and determining my favorite of the year. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in that. I thought that could maybe be a fun video to share at the end of 2021. So for now, I'm leaving this blank. Moving on to my next spread, which was for arcs, and I've had a couple this year. I've tried to be a little more responsible about requesting them, and I'm trying to not request too many just because I've been pretty busy this year so far, and also just feeling a little bit more mood ready this year. I've been in a bit of a reading slump on and off in 2021, so I really don't want to force myself to read books I'm not excited about. So I've been trying to request fewer arcs, and I have read more than half of the arcs that I've had this year, but I am a little behind because of my move, so I need to get on it. The next spread, as you can see on the left, is still empty. This is actually going to be for all of our book club picks for the year. And then this spread looks exactly the same. This is my reading goals, which I think I'm doing all right on. So here we are getting into the monthly spreads. So this is my January TBR and January cover page. My TBR is in here. So cute little list with my TBR in it, and hopping into some individual book spreads here. So the first spread here is for The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This was our first book club read of the year, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. So this is my little spread for this book here. Then we have The Vanishing Half, which was another 5-star read in January. Here we have Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. This one has quite a few pages because it's essentially a history of racism from before America became a country up to today. and it was pretty detailed and extensive. So because I'm not American and I don't know a lot about American history, I really dove in headfirst and tried to absorb as much information as I could from this book. I just feel like it really gave me a lot of context for the current situation in America when it comes to race. So I took quite a few notes here, chronological order. So moving through the years, as you can see, I took a lot of notes, and up to the modern day. And here we have 2 more 5-star reads from January: A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough, all about the climate crisis, and Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson, which is about, again, racism in America. So both of these were incredible reads. I gave each 5 stars, and these are my spreads for them. And the last spread for January, my January stats. So these are the stats for all the books that I read in January of this year. Moving on to February here with a bit of a Valentine's Day love theme. Again, I have my TBR in this cute little envelope. The first spread here is for, again, our book club pick for February, which was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. So this is the spread I created for this book here. I found some really awesome fan art of the characters, which I was really excited to include in the spread here. Then we have They Said This Would Be Fun. I actually have a video where I am talking about this book and setting up this spread, so I'll link that in the card and in the description box down below if you want to check it out and hear more about my thoughts on this book in particular. And also just in general, I'll link down below any of the videos I have relating to my reading journal if you want to watch any of the spreads as they're set up instead of just in review. Then we have 2 more spreads for Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson and That Could Be Enough by Alyssa Cole. Again, 2 more 5-star reads. Also, if you wanted to hear my thoughts and reviews on any of these books, I'll link down below the playlist of my book videos where I do wrap-ups each month, just giving quick reviews of every book that I read, whether I'd recommend them, thoughts, content warnings, all that stuff. So check those out if you want to learn more about my thoughts, because I'm not sure even if you paused and zoomed in that you'd be able to read my handwriting. It is pretty messy. Then we have my February stats here. Moving into March. And the first spread here for March was for our book club pick that month, which was Word Slut by Amanda Montell. This was definitely not a perfect book by any means, but I did find it very enlightening, very interesting, and it sparked a very long and in-depth conversation within the book club, which was really awesome to be a part of. Next, we have my spread for Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell, and oh my goodness, I adored this book. I got this as an ARC from NetGalley, and I just inhaled it. It's a sci-fi MLM romance, and it's just next level amazing. I adored it. New favorite for sure. Then we have 2 more books that I read and adored in March. We have Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars by Kai Chang Tom and The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. This one is sort of a magical fictionalized memoir, I guess, contemporary but kind of fantastical. And then The Downstairs Girl is historical fiction. Then we have the spread that I created for the Broken Earth trilogy. I decided to make one for the whole trilogy because I did finish reading The Stone Sky in March, but I read the first 2 books last year before I started a reading journal, and I really wanted a spread just for all 3 because this series is incredible, and if you have not heard me gush about it already, let me take 2 more seconds to gush about it. If you are into fantasy, if you enjoy fantasy, please pick up this trilogy. It is so, so, so good. I can't even, there are not words to describe how much I love it. It is pretty intense. I would recommend seeking out content warnings. I include them in my Goodreads reviews as well as in my wrap-up videos on YouTube. So you can check those out if you want to see what I would consider content warnings for this trilogy. But it's amazing. I adored it. This fan art is giving me life. And honestly, looking at the spread right now is making me want to start the series all over again. So I might have to read it all again before the end of the year. Then we come to the March stats. 11 books read in March. Moving on to April here, a bit of a rainy, moody vibe. And here we have The Memory Police, which was our book club pick for April, which I loved, gave it 5 stars. And The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman, which I also gave 5 stars and just absolutely adored. And that's it for April. I read 9 books in April, but I didn't have as many wins that month. So only 2 books that I really felt I wanted to immortalize in my reading journal. But here are the stats. Getting into May here. Our book club pick, The Little Paris Bookshop. This is the first book club pick that I did not enjoy. So I gave it 2 stars, just not at all for me. And then This Is How You Lose the Time War, which was 100% for me. I gave it 5 stars. A sci-fi novella written in very poetic letters back and forth between these 2 characters. Just fantastic. Adored it. Then we have The Cost of Knowing, which was another arc from NetGalley that I gave 5 stars. Just very poignant, very intense, and timely. And then we have The Empress of Salt and Fortune, which I also gave 5 stars. This is a novella, a fantasy novella, and it was amazing. I read it twice in May. Well, I listened to the audiobook and then I read it in ebook form, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I would highly recommend. Then I have Inside Out and Back Again and Other Words for Home. These had a lot of similar qualities, which is why I wanted to put them on a spread together, and they were both wonderful. Inside Out and Back Again is the story of Ha, who is coming to America as a refugee from Vietnam at the beginning of the Vietnam War. And then Other Words for Home is the story of Judah coming to America with her mother to escape violence in Syria. And they were both just heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. Both Ha and Judah were just incredible protagonists. Loved both of them. They're both middle grade, and I would highly recommend them for children and adults alike. Then we get into my May stats here. Read 9 books in May. And then we get to the final month in my reading journal so far, June. I did not finish a lot of books in June because I moved across the country and had 0 time. So I only finished 4 books in June. The first book I finished in June was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which I gave 5 stars. Loved it. I reread To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. I actually listened to it on audiobook in the car with my husband while we were driving to our new province. And I knew he would love it, and he did. And I loved it just as much listening to it again. So we didn't have a book club pick for this month just because I knew I wouldn't have time to commit to reading any particular book or to do a discussion. So no book club pick for this month. And that is it. We get into the empty pages after that. And I do still have about half of this notebook left to go. So we shall see how chunky this notebook gets once I've gotten to the end. I'm actually really excited about it. There's something so satisfying about a notebook that looks like this. It's just really been used. I would love to know if you've read any of the books that I immortalized in my reading journal, what your thoughts were on them, what your thoughts are on my reading journal in general. Do you have a reading journal? Would you ever consider making one? Is there a spread that I'm missing that you think I should definitely be including in here? Let me know. All the comments, share them down below. I'm really excited to share this with you. I've been working hard on this through the year, but again, haven't been able to share it with you for a while. So it's fun to give you a little update and show you how far we've come here. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you really soon in my next one. Bye, friends.